There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. So excited to have you here. So excited for our conversation tonight. We are going to be, oh, you know what? I did forget to do the question queue, so I'll do that right now while I am talking. But we are going to be talking about turning pain into perseverance today with our guest, Noah May. I'm really excited. And Noah, thank you so much for joining us today and agreeing to be here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to have our conversation today.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a question queue open. So if you are here live with us and you have a question, feel free to drop that into the chat, and we will make sure that we get that shared here, and that we are able to address your question. And also, if you are looking to connect with Noah, I have several different social links that you can pop through to YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and then he's also got a link tree with all of his links handy for you too. So feel free to go in and connect with him in any of those ways if you would like to. And don't forget to make sure to engage with some of his posts. Give a like, give a follow, give a comment. All of those things are what feeds that hungry algorithm. So go do all of those things. But like I said, today I am joined by Noah May. He is a recent journalism grad from Auburn University, also the host of 3 podcasts, including the Lethal Venom podcast. He has lived with depression since age 13 and anxiety since 18, and he's turned those experiences into a mission, using his voice to advocate for mental health awareness and create space for others who are struggling to feel a little less alone, which, as we all know, is something that is really, really big here. So, we are going to be talking about his personal journey with depression and anxiety from his childhood and now into adulthood. And Noah, again, just welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come on and really getting to me, have me share my story on here. I can't wait to have our discussion today, and I can't wait to share my story.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to dive into it. So, what first inspired you to start sharing your story through your content and your speaking?
So I just decided to start sharing my story kind of as a way for a lot of people to not feel alone, because I tended
Mhm.
to be kind of the outcast when it came to my mental health and depression. I wanted to be kind of the spokesperson for it and wanted to be sort of like, you know what, you don't have to be afraid or scared to speak these feelings, have these emotions, and I tended to be kind of the spokesperson for that so that people could actually be able to open up and not be afraid to share what they're honestly thinking and be able to feel comfortable in themselves to be able to share what they're going through.
Yeah, I love that because that's a big part of why I started sharing what I went through as well, was just the it lets people know that they're not alone. And I mentioned whenever I was doing your intro, like that's a big thing here, is just you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, you're not alone in it. There's a community here. There's other people who have been through not exactly whatever you're going through, but something similar, something relatable, and everything. And it really does help. I think more than a lot of people realize, just knowing that there's someone around who has been through something dark and made it out to the other side. Like, that's really inspiring. So really glad you started sharing your story.
Yeah, everyone that I've shared my story with kind of has appreciated the openness and rawness of me being able to speak out and be honest about what I've been through. I've had a lot of support over the years from people after high school, and we'll probably get into more of that later. But a lot of my friends that I have now are so much more supportive now, and I feel as though I can open up and share what I'm going through with them and not be judged anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. How do you balance this whole being open about mental health and also protecting your own peace? I feel like what you were just talking about a little bit, the friends from high school, and now they're more open about it, but there is an element of I gotta protect myself a little bit and protect my peace versus how much do you decide to be open about? How do you go about that?
I kind of I think strategically of it pretty to be honest, I do kind of share what I do want to share out with the world. Of course, I do kind of share differently about who I trust the most. Like if I have like a really close friend, I can tell them all of my trauma and secrets to them and know that they won't say anything. But yet if I know someone that kind of likes to share other people's information and they kind of like to be a little bit kind of talk about what they've had conversations with. I don't really open up
Yeah,
as much to them because I don't want like a random person that I don't know hear it without it coming straight from me. So I'm strategic about who I tell. At first I told really no one about it
mhm,
at all. I kept it all quiet and put under the rug. I never was really open and honest with anything that I was going through because of the fear of being judged and kind of seen as
sure.
like an outcast from my just fellow peers and everything. And I wanted to kind of keep a normal, I guess, lifestyle at that point. So I was like, I want to keep everything normal as can be and want everyone to kind of not see the true side of what I was going through. But over the years, I've opened up to be more vocal about it, seeing how frequent and how much it does affect people. At first, I thought it was just me that it was affecting. But after hearing other people's stories and hearing other people's things about depression, anxiety, it kind of made me realize that, oh, more people deal with this than people say. And
Mhm.
it made me feel to be more comfortable being able to open up and be like, oh, I'm going to speak for the people that are scared to open up and share what they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you're sharing about yours, the more likely someone else is going to feel safe sharing about what they've experienced as well. But you don't want to do that if someone is a little bit of a gossip. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different realm of sharing that you might go through.
Yeah, I know some of my personal friends that are like that, and they tend to they share a little bit more than I personally would want other people to know about. But I now still strategically think about who I share with who and what to share to the extent. So I still pick strategically who I do now. But um, with me doing the podcast, all my lives out there essentially. So I really everyone typically can find it and hear my story and
Mhm.
know everything from just a podcast episode. So I don't really, since doing the podcast now, I'm not really as like lenient of who I tell and don't tell.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fair. I mean, there's definitely contexts where I'll share some stuff very publicly through the podcast, through my own guest appearances and everything. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to share that on a work call, you know. It's a different forum, it's a different format.
Yeah,
Do you have a true crime story that fascinates you?
I do not have a true crime story, but I do watch a lot of true crime on YouTube. I'm a huge person that watches body cam and kind of watch story crime line stories a little bit. It's something that I don't really share with people. It's kind of something that I
Mm-hmm.
have an interest in. I'm different though when it comes to podcasts. I don't think I could listen to a really full podcast because I'm more of a visual person, and I like to sometimes with this kind of content see to kind of paint a picture, which in
Yeah.
my head I can always come out with my own scenario and picture. I've always been like that as a kid. Anyone tells a story, I'm immediately painting a picture of what it looks like, what how the scenery looks and everything. And I tend to do that. But for the true crime videos, I like to kind of see it to
Yeah.
kind of better understand how the story goes and see where everything's at.
Yeah. I have my oldest is really into like true crime documentaries and stuff on Netflix, but I don't know if he's ever listened to a podcast, like a true crime podcast. I'll have to ask him that because I think he has something very similar where he is much more I need to connect the visual to really understand the story. And I can listen to a podcast and my like you're saying, like my mind is immediately painting whatever the story is for me. But yeah, I feel like that's really fair. And you said you like to watch the body cam footage and everything. There's all kinds of things on YouTube that you can really get into and lose yourself in a rabbit hole too for that.
Yeah, there's tons, and I didn't start watching body cam till about 2021, 22, I
Mhm.
think. And I was in college when I started it. It was I don't think they're as they're better now than when I first found them. They were kind of like
Yeah.
more, I think they had just started their channel. I was one of the rare occurrences where I actually watched a YouTube channel and they don't announce a year later, oh, by the way, I'm quitting. Like it
Yeah.
happens all the time. Every time I find a new channel, a month or two later, they're like, oh, well, I'm leaving the platform. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay. And so,
Yeah.
it was a rare occurrence of me finding a channel that actually had just started and they've actually stayed around for a long time. So I was like, that's a rarity that that I
Oh, that's great.
don't get too often.
Yeah. So take us back to when you were 13. What were those early days of depression like, and how did you even recognize at that age what was happening to you?
Yeah, 13 for me was a very life altering experience for me. It was basically how everything has now transpired until today. I was in eighth grade at the time. My my grandmother had gotten sick with Alzheimer's and dementia at the time,
Mm.
and it hit very close to home. I had a really close relationship with her growing up as childhood. We would always write. She would always help me with homework assignments if I was out sick. I mean, any animal book that you could find, whether it was like this thick or like Game of Thrones thick, it was any kind of book like that. We would look through hundreds and thousands of times and always love it every single time. We used to watch reality shows all the time. She was more of like, when I was very young, she loved House Hunters. We always would watch
Oh, yeah.
House Hunters together, and we would always pick like what we liked about the house and what house would we pick, you know that. So we had a very good bond. And then when she got sick, it just kind of like I immediately lost who that person
Hmm.
was. She went through a very whole mind altering state. It was just a whole personality. It was like someone going through a rebellious stage, and you're just like, that's not who I remember them as.
Hmm.
And then at school too, I was starting to get bullied pretty severely again. I was very severely bullied to the point where I was suicidal at a point, never did attempt anything at the time. I had thoughts, never really fell through with them because I
Yeah.
was kind of scared to do it and I didn't really have the ways of like secretly trying to get pills or I didn't have anything in my room to kind of hang myself from. So, I mean, it just wasn't like anything that I could really fall through with it and be like properly done. So I and my when you're an only child, you're watched like a hawk 24/7. So every 5 seconds, my mom probably would have been like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And it was that's not something always down like right here all the time.
Hmm.
And so I didn't have siblings where that she'd have to worry about them getting them out of trouble. I was the only one that she had, and everything at that point. Um, so a culmination of how my grandmother was and just how school was, I kind of started failing and liking in school grades a little bit too. I started getting more C's and D's, and I was
Mm.
usually getting the A's and B's that I was notorious for. I hung around a very bad crowd at the time as well. I kids that I look back and I go, what was I thinking of hanging out with them? What was I thinking about hanging out with those people? And so I just went through a really rebellious stage. I
Yeah.
started slacking in homework and school assignments too. I started just not really care for it at all. Um, I also had founded a porn addiction at that time.
Mm.
And this was all in just like a span of 4 or 5 months. This was all eighth grade. So from August till about April or May of 2016 is when all this started. So this was not something that gradually came on. It was just
Yeah.
instant. And it it was traumatizing for me to at first to look back and I can kind of remember some songs that come on during that time period and I can just be like I know where my mindset was at the time and I can also remember like who um just some life events at the time. Well, I knew that something was wrong. I was down and depressed all the time.
Mm.
Something that I look back at now is like a red alarm going off was a most kids in 2015 for Christmas that year would want a new iPhone. They would want gaming devices and all this stuff. I wanted a typewriter and a rotary phone.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you why. If that didn't scream like red flags for my mom, then it would have been a huge fail. But she knew even like months prior. She probably had that thing at where I was 4 years old. On April 8th, 2015, he'll get diagnosed with depression. I feel like she's like the kind of parent that could just tell anything.
Mm-hmm.
I could call her now and when I went to college and called her, I could be like, hey, and she like, what's wrong? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just called you to say hey. I'm like, damn. Like I can't just say hi without being badgered with 500
Mm-hmm.
questions of like, what's wrong? So she was very eye spotted and she knew what it was going through because she also dealt with depression as well. So I had a support system of someone that automatically knew what depression was. They didn't really teach us this at the time. We were still
Yeah.
pretty young to be knowing what it was, even though half the class knew what sex was at that point. But they just never taught depression, anxiety, or any kind of mental health disorders at the time. And so I had no background knowledge about what it was, the side effects of it, anything like that. And I think a few months into 2016, my mom caught me watching the pornography at the time because I did not know that you couldn't watch it in the middle of the day. That was rookie mistake number one that I made of, oh, most people stay up late at night at 2 a.m. watching it
Mm-hmm.
on their phone when everyone's asleep. I watched it 3 p.m. in the middle of the day. Of course, I had that rookie brain of, oh, I don't know what's right and what's wrong. So she called me and basically for 2 hours told everything that was going on. And she said, okay, we're going to the doctor first thing. She said, I knew something has been wrong. I just knew something had been wrong with you, but I just didn't want to assume that something was
Yeah.
wrong. And we went to the doctor, told him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's got depression. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that you have it." So I was officially diagnosed with it at 14,
Mm-hmm.
2016 in April that year. And since then, it was just kind of a battle with depression all throughout high school. It was kind of a I got diagnosed with clinical depression. So I had a form of depression that comes and goes in waves. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
determine when it'll come and how long it's going to stay, which is so tedious at times because you can never really plan for it and be
Yeah.
prepared for it. He put me on some medication during the time, and the medicine minimized it a little bit, but it I had good days and bad days. It was
Mm-hmm.
just kinda common at that point, and so I kinda was on depression medicine since 14, and then all throughout high school, it was just kind of a battle of clinical depressions. I'd have, like, waves of, "I'm fine today," 3 years, depressed for 2 months, happy for a week, depressed for 9 years. It just
Mm.
it's kinda that roller coaster effect. So that's kinda how the depression started at 13, was just a lot of trauma thrown at me at once.
Yeah. Well, good on your mom for being a little curious about what was happening instead of just, getting you in trouble or whatever, because I know it can be really tempting as a mom to go, you know what? You're in trouble. We're not going to talk about it. This is bad and all of that, and then not dig a little deeper like, hey, what's going on? What is going on here? Let's go ahead and have you talk to somebody. Let's address this more openly than a lot of folks. So good on her for that, and good on you for sharing with her too whenever confronted about it. That could be really challenging, especially at 13. I've got a 12-year-old, and boy, I can't confront him even if it's not a confrontation. I can't, sometimes talk to him without getting my head snapped off. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that shows a lot of grace on both sides for the two of you.
Yeah, I still had to get like, constant penalized for something. I know
Sure.
that's not the right word. I had to get in trouble for it,
Yeah.
and there was some consequences that I had to face for it, but she understood. She didn't
Hmm.
take it as like um I think it's like, something that she holds over my head.
Mhm.
Now, since then, it's been kind of a thing where she checks up, it's like, "Are you still watching it? Are you still watching it?" And of course, she has to
Mhm.
be like, "No." It's a mindset of, "No, I'm not." And then, um, have to hide it still, but,
Yeah.
it was pretty severe. I
Mm.
have to say, people don't really know how severe it got at first. It was I would get very furious and angry when my internet would not load to watch, like, one video before I did homework, and
Oh,
then
wow.
you kinda get in that mindset. I mean, it was pretty severe.
Mhm.
It was such a really just like a addiction that I had at
Uh,
the time. It was like, this is what kinda like what being on drugs is like. You can't really go a day without watching it, anything. I can now do it easily and, like, for 20 minutes and not get addicted to it as much anymore,
Mhm.
and that's just because of mixture of how life has been, school has been, and just how I have other things to really focus on and can do than that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's gotten so much better than what it was at 13. I think
Yeah.
it's like when most people I think would probably be as addicted now as I kinda was early in age when I first found it, which some people now when you hear they're at 8 years old and know what it is, I'm just like, "What?" It's like, you're like, "Oh, no. Pause, time out, freeze,
Yeah.
go back."
Yeah,
What do you mean you know what that is?
your brain at 13 is definitely not it's definitely not ready for that kind of content for sure. But it's also
Yeah,
really hard as a parent to control everything that your kid is watching. So, it's
yeah.
tough. It's tough. But yeah, your brain now is definitely much more able to handle that than it was then.
Mhm.
You mentioned feeling misunderstood by your peers and your friends in school. What did that look like for you, and how did that isolation shape you during your formative years?
I just seen how unsupportive they were, and
Mm.
they were just so, like, "I don't give 2 shits what I'm going through," and it's like, you really it was I always was a ghost and vapor. I kinda was just like a thing of gas that was just kinda going in between classes, and I was just in a chair that they saw something was sitting in it, but they couldn't physically see me. It was just like this mass. That's kinda
Mm.
how it was seen. They talked to me here and there. I think they talked to me out of pity because of how kind of lonesome I kinda was at the time, and, but even through all the years, they never once said, like, until I think in college when I opened up, they started giving me, like, the, "Oh, I'm so sorry you go through that," and I was like, it's like, at that point, 5 years too late,
Yeah.
7 years too late, and, now I still get some people from not frequently, but, I still get people from way back that kind of are like, "I'm sorry you went through that." I'm like, "10 years too late."
Yeah.
That's way in the past, and they it made me go into college, like, and even the thing that really set the most was after I graduated from high school, they all kinda left me to do their own thing,
Mm.
and it I felt very much as, like, very an outcast.
Mm.
I very much was just not seen, and I kinda focused on myself during that time as well, and I thought, I have my mom and my grandfather at the time. I never had a father figure really growing up because my, mom was sexually assaulted when she got pregnant with me, so I never really had that true father
Yeah.
household, and they would make fun of me for that as well because I didn't have the typical a Southern family of, um, mom, dad, living this us together in a home. I was like mom, 2 grandparents that lived in a home that and that was just very much odd.
Mm.
And they bullied me for that as well. They made fun of me for not having, like, the true American household at the time, and it was funny because the same people had the most dysfunctional homes too, so I was just like, I don't see
Yeah.
where the difference in that is, like, in anything, but they bullied me for that. I mean, anything. I mean, I could have a hair come up somewhere in, like, a very mass quantity, and they'd make fun of me for it. I could have a
Mm.
freckle come up, they make fun of me for it. It literally was anything.
Mm.
Clothes, shoes, how I looked all the time. Um, it was just anything. So just kind of looking back at it, I just see just a bunch of people that just really were more into themselves than they were other people.
Right.
There's very few people that were like supportive and were like, "Are you okay?" and genuinely like, "Are you okay?" And then after like high school and everything, they kind of left me too. But I had some support at the time. But now I don't talk to any of them except one person. She's like my best friend from there, and I met her senior year of high school, and we went through community college together. I mean, it was a huge support system for me and her both, and she's my best friend to this day. She's the only one from that class I ever talked to that actually
Hmm.
still checks in on me from time to time.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think as time goes on, it's harder and harder to relate to the folks that you went to school with. It sounds like it was harder for you from the very beginning. Like for me, it's like, okay, well, you're off doing your thing. I went a completely different way in life, and our paths just kind of diverged. So I'm glad you're able to meet someone at least senior year and connect with them. Did you have any teachers who were, that you could lean on for support or anything, or was it mostly your family that you were leaning on?
I didn't really open that's a good question. I don't really particularly know if there was really any teachers that were like worrisome about it. They were kind of in the same league as kids were, but of course they, as adults, mature, kind of did it in a mature way of like kind of supporting from a distance. I will
Sure.
say though that since graduation, I've never really had any of my past teachers like reach out to me and say, "Oh my
Mhm.
God, that's so awesome what you did," and like all the accomplishments I've made so far. So it kind of says something in that regard. I mean,
Mhm.
it just kinda goes to show that really no person from school in any way, shape, or form was supportive of it. Like, I think they're more supportive of other people because 'cause they're their favorites. I think it
Mm.
was kind of, like, I just didn't have personal connections with them. If I just didn't they didn't vibe with me or anything, and it I just personally think that everyone around me was just not really supportive is what I see it as.
Yeah.
I think teachers might have been a little bit more supportive than the student body was, but even some teachers kind of fall in the same lines, if even below that too.
Mm. Yeah. So you got this diagnosis for depression at 14, but you weren't diagnosed with anxiety until 18. How did having a name for that piece of things and what you were experiencing, how did that change things for you?
So I was a senior in high school at the time. This was actually a kind of a period in my life where I was actually depressed free for the longest time. The year prior for junior year, it was actually the first time I had all A's all year. I had all A's in all my classes for the first time since I think fifth or sixth grade. So it was like a very long time. And I was just the happiest I was at that point. If I had to go back in any of my school years and repeat a year, it would be junior year because it was just such a perfect thing. And there would be some things in there that I would like change how I would live life a little bit now. Um, but at the time I was really happy. And then senior year started out the same way, but beginning of 2020 and like 2 months before the pandemic started, I remember I got sick with I think it was like a cold or had some kind of bug that was going around at the time and was out sick with that for a day or two and went back to school. And we had a hard teacher at the time that taught a history class there at our high school that made it like a college level class, even though it was for high school
Mm.
seniors. And he was just a very, really tough teacher. And about February of that year, I started getting these weird sick spells, and I couldn't really explain what it was. They would come in the middle of the night between, I would say, 1 or 2 a.m. or early in the morning around 6 or 7 a.m., right before I would get up to come to school and leave. I would always have these sick spells where I would get really nauseous to the point where I would throw up.
Mhm.
And we thought it was just another thing of, oh, I have a flu, I have some kind of stomach bug going around. We thought it was just a virus and didn't think it was anything mentally going on. Well, this kind of transpired for a month off and on. And we
Wow.
started having questions about, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah,
Something's
that's a
wrong.
long time.
And and we thought that maybe it was my depression. Maybe had a new symptom, decided to pop in, say hello. But then I said, I've never had this feeling of being sick. Like I've had like very severe depression spells to the point where I'm like literally wanting to do suicide, but I've never once felt nauseous to the point I get sick.
Yeah.
So this was something new. So we went to the doctor, and he even had no clue what was going on, which that's something you never want to hear a doctor
And
say
yeah.
is, I don't know what's wrong with you. Because then you think, oh, I have something that's not been clinically proven. I have something that's not been officially diagnosed. So I thought, okay, what I thought, okay, I'm just an alien with an alien disease at this point. But he said that doesn't mean something's not wrong. He
Hmm.
said, obviously there's something going on. You you've lost a significant amount of weight during that time, and I'll
Mm.
get to kind of the effects here in a minute. And he said, so we did tests and everything came back normal, but he said, there's evidently something going on. I mean, because I know you personally, I've been your doctor for years since you were little. I know how
Hmm.
you are. This is not normal. And if there's not like a flu virus, a stomach bug, something, and you're still getting sick, there's something going on. And so he started asking me questions about, has anything in your life been triggering anything personally for you that's been a change? And I said, well, other than one hard class at school, no, I actually was not getting bullied at the time. Everyone actually kind of was being nice to me at that time and at that point. And I didn't really have any beef with anyone. And other than that, all my classes were fine. So I said, other than that thing, school's going pretty well because that tended to be a recurrent problem that we always had
Yeah.
to do check-ins about. And yeah, he was just baffled. So he said, "Let's try seeing if it is maybe school related." He gave me a doctor's note to stay out of school for that following week, and he was going to do some tests and setting up on do some research about what may be going on. We'll do a week check-in.
Hmm.
So the following week went back in, and he said, "I think he might have anxiety." And I said, "Well, wait a minute." Because I knew kind of depression, anxiety at this point, just from medical classes I've taken and health classes, as well as like anatomy. I just actually took anatomy, so I knew kind of like more about what depression, anxiety do, but also
Hmm.
had a lot of home ec and all this stuff, and or health class. And I said, "But I thought anxiety came from you couldn't breathe, panic attacks, to tightness in your chest." And he said, "Well, commonly that's what it is." And then he said, "In some cases, you people do have forms of anxiety attacks where they do nausea to the point where they throw up." And I thought, part of the minority again. I just anything that's common or normal with me, I'm just part of the minority group. I'm just like, here's 99% of what's wrong. Here's I fill in that
Hmm.
1%. So if you're ever wondering like, but there's 1%, I'm more than likely in that category. And this was just one of those categories. He put me on strict medicine at the time. He said, I told him, I said, "Do you think I need to drop out of school and to stop what I'm doing?" And he said, "Well, I don't want you to stop now because you're right there at that very end."
Yeah.
He said, "You could do homeschooling." And I said, "Do you think homeschooling would be approved this later? Was this late? Because this was around February or first of
Oh,
March when I
wow.
got everything situated. So I mean, this was like 2 months before school was before,
Hmm.
or about 2 or 3 months before graduation. And I said, "Are they even going to approve that?" Let me stay out for just 3 months to do homeschooling. I said, and he said, "Honestly, if you need backup or help, I can come in and give them medical reasons of why you need to stay out." I said, "Don't let that be something for you to worry about. If I need to come in there and help you get out for this, I will." He
That's
was really
great.
supportive and
Yeah.
everything at the time. He said, "I'll personally will come there with the doctor's note, talk to your guidance counselor and say, this is like XYZ, what's going on, and tell them that I'm not going to get too personal. I just can have a work related answer to them, and then they'll take it like it is. Um, so we kind of were on the verge of that, but luckily school kind of got shut down because COVID had just happened.
Yeah.
Um, they say we originally were on a 3-week break, which then turned into a 6-month break. So school ended up being canceled for the rest of the semester for essentially for people in our county and our state. Our state was like, with 3 weeks of it being left, there's no point in doing any more schoolwork at this point. So just enjoy this very early summer break, and then by August we'll decide for the public schools what
Mm-hmm.
the decision will be. So I actually ended up getting like a 6-month break from school, but the damage at that point had already been done, to be
Yeah.
honest. I lost 20 pounds during that time. I was basically skin and bones. My all the strength that I had in my arms and legs were completely gone. I would shake violently if I was going down steps. My legs would shake very bad. Um, I couldn't open up any really Coke bottles or milk cartons that have like a jagged edge. If I
Mm.
did, the skin in between my thumb and my index finger would actually peel back on itself.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
actually had to use either my shirt or a gripper to help grip onto the lid to
Mm-hmm.
help unscrew the lid off so I could protect my hands and my skin from being peeled back and actually getting like bleeding. So I had to use tools to help open up bottles or have someone open it for me. I have a lot of shakiness in my left arm. I feel like my mobility in my left arm is not great at all. It tends to shake if I have it at a very certain angle, and even laying down, it kind of twitches too. I've noticed. Um, my anxiety was really severe at that point. Depression was so severe. I think if we waited any longer, I probably would have ended up in the hospital if because
Wow.
of how severe it got. My doctor at the time prescribed me with Ensure to help gain some of the weight back. Because it was just a huge, tremendous weight loss. I weighed 140 before it started, and by the time I got diagnosed, I was 120. So it was a
Mm.
significant 20-degree or 20-pound drop, which just in like a month or two. Which
Yeah.
he even was like, "That's severe for your
Mm-hmm.
case." I kind of have really bad. I was even like skin and bones before then because my ribs show, but literally my ribs on the side, you could see it. It was so bad, and I had to drink those for a pretty long time, and I even was about to have to drink them at school too
Mm-hmm.
because I had to be put on a very particular diet, but my anxiety at the time had already been done. The anxiety was so severe, anything I did would make me nervous. So going to a friend's house, going to the grocery store, going to a gas station, going to a theme park that I've been to for 500 times, anything would trigger my anxiety. And
Mm.
even after a while of me getting used to it and having this routine, if something in the plan shifted or changed, it just sparked it, and it just was like that was a trigger thing for my anxiety to just really, trigger, and it was just like a huge downward effect.
Yeah.
Nothing at that point really could help me with the anxiety attacks. It was one of those things where it had to be run its course. I can't People are always trying to tell me to breathe, and I'm not, "Shut up, leave me alone, I can't listen to all this right now." It just has to run its course, and
Mm-hmm.
after I would get sick, that would be the end of my anxiety test. I said, "After I get sick, then you can bother me and badger me, but just leave me alone at this point."
Yeah.
And this happened and went on for about a year or 2, and then, later in 2020, ended up getting COVID for 6 months. That kinda reversed all the effects that I had previously done. I lost all the weight again, lost all of the
Uh,
strength that I had built up again. So 2020 was just a huge health battle and health scare for me, and to have all this at 18 was pretty traumatic on my body at that
right.
time. My body's um, really thing. A lot of my, I've had a lot of like throat problems as well. Like I used to sing all the time. My throat's completely damaged from just all the,
Mm.
I don't want to get graphic, but kind of all the vomit that I've
Yeah.
had, stomach acid that I've had to come through. It's just destroyed my vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think a lot of my, um, I've I've never noticed having an Adam's apple in it. 24, I find it a little odd that I don't have an Adam's apple at this point. So I don't know if that maybe had altered me any of
Mm,
that. So I'm pretty sure some of the puberty stuff that I probably was going through kind of got reversed or something had not really gone through organically. Pretty much probably during this whole depression, anxiety thing. I think some
mm-hmm.
things have been altered in some ways. Um But yeah, that all happened at 18, and it was just such a huge thing to kind of unravel and tell people all at once too, and it was just very traumatic for someone that young to go through.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And also to have to maybe not explain to everyone, especially since COVID happened and you didn't have to go, back to school necessarily, but you're having to go through things that your friends aren't having to go through, and I'm sure, looking at their lives and going, why is your life okay and my life has all this extra piled on?
Right. Especially during, like, the COVID years too, like, I saw all the people I went to high school with go to bars and clubs and all this stuff, and they would be, like, this close to one another, and yet here I am wearing a mask, I'm social distance from
Yeah.
everyone, essentially, and I get sick with it. I'm just like, "What have I done in life?" There was literally moments that year, I was like, "What have I done so severely that
Yeah.
God is just like, I'm just gonna screw with his life for this whole
Hmm.
year?" I'm just like, "What have I done?" I'm like it was a moment of like, "What have I done that has
Yeah.
been so bad to me for me to be punished like this?" It was just like a thing, and on top of it, I lost a pet during that year as well,
Oh,
and it was just like everything it was like anything that could go bad went bad.
yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised I didn't break a leg, I'm surprised I didn't get into a crash because that was just kind of the theme that was going on that year.
Hmm.
It was just such a weird which everyone I think suffered in some way, but I feel like I was probably one of the more severe, like, things that happened, but I think anyone during 2020 suffered
Yeah.
in a with some kind of hardship from one time or another.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had some really, really bad days, really dark days when you were younger. What does a bad day look like for you now? And what tools do you have or use now that you maybe didn't have access to back then?
Well, I'm on really good medication now compared to when I first got, um, diagnosed with it. Some of the tools now, I have a good support system. That was really what I was missing during
Yeah.
the whole 2020, all the friends that I had, now were not there for me in 2020 because I had not met them yet. None
Right.
of them had come into the picture yet. They kinda all came kind of after all the aftermath, and they all kinda came later on. But, my best friend, she was kind of the forefront of it. She witnessed and saw it, and she was so support she was the only support system I had friend-wise, and then my mom, of course, was so supportive of everything and anything that she did. She was always by my side for anything, and she was just very much a supportive mom. And I think, even from the situation I kinda was introduced in, I know a lot of single parents or moms around here would have given their child up, and for her to
Mm,
be able to not do that, I think shows you what kind of a mom she is to a lot of people. I think a lot of people could be jealous of those kinds of moms. Um, she really was like, "I'm just gonna take full responsibility of this," and she said that honestly, she's telling me that the best thing that came out of that day and that night was you. And
yeah.
this makes me feel warm inside that, it was all worth it at the end. And I don't wanna use that as kind of like a way of like, well, I hate that she's went through it, but, something
Right.
good did come out of it, and she really has been happy and blessed with that. And so she was there kind of through all then. I think some of the support now that I get that I didn't have then is, I would say I don't do therapy much anymore because I kind of have gotten out of it to be at but at the time, therapy helped.
Yeah.
Being able to go to a psychiatrist did help as well. Having a good support system, is good, and bad days for me now is, I would say just casual thing. If something like very traumatic happened, like tech problem or something just personally was going on with me or anything, that would be a bad day. 2020 me would have been like, I have a splinter and be like, the day's over, the world's ending. Like that's just how I was back then. I could get like a little splinter and people think, no, you're a little over dramatic. but but now it kind of has gone into more of a um supportive, like, okay, it takes a lot to kind of get me
Mhm.
down now, and bad days are just really bad days, but those are some things, and music and the podcast actually now kind of has been a way to cope with things, and um, I can come on here and be like, "This is my life. This is my pain.
Mhm.
You're going to hear about it if you want to or not." And I just kind of share it out there to the world, and usually someone relates to it. Some people won't, which is completely fine. I wish I was part of the minority that didn't have to relate to it, but
Mhm.
someone out there will relate to it. But there's I have just a lot of good tools now that 18-year-old me wishes he had.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, your ability to share your story is something that helps you now. What role did storytelling and journalism play in your healing process along the way?
I kind of got out of my shell a little bit. I was always shy growing up. I was completely 100% in a shell. And maybe that's kind of how people saw me as. It's just a shy person no one really wanted to talk to. But I remember some of the first few people that I told, and even when they first met me, when I told them the major I went in, they're like, "You in journalism? That has to be a joke." And I said, "No, I'm doing that." And they're like, "Bet." I think they didn't expect me to actually follow through with it. I think they thought I was joking because it was like the quiet kid become a journalist. No, that won't work. And which my form of journalism was different at the time. It's kind of now has changed now, but at the time, I wasn't wanting to go in like the news journalism. I was
Mhm.
wanting to go into more of the entertainment journalism. So there was a different side of journalism I wanted to go into, and just hearing other people's stories of really being impactful has really made me feel not alone at the
Mhm.
time too. And sometimes when my friends would tell them stories, I would kinda get my journalism crown on and be like, "What did that make you feel like? Like, when did you first realize that?" I start interviewing them on a call, and um, they just don't really realize it, but doing that kind of made me realize that these stories need to be told
Mhm.
and that people need to have their voice shared. So being able to go into this field has been really eye-opening is seeing that, oh, well, other people go through it. I'm just not out there telling those stories. And so I really love journalism because I get to share those stories and really be able to open up and can go, this is what I've been through. This is what I endured. Let me make it this a safe space for you to be able to open up and share your story so that other people can hear it and you can feel not judged by it.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, you were on certain medications and you said that you were in therapy and it helped at the time. Now you're not really in therapy. Were there any things that really you tried and they just didn't work? Or were there things that you were like, wow, I wish I tried this sooner because it worked really, really well?
Um, good question. There have been some of the therapy techniques that I tried using and they just did not work at
Mm,
all for me. Some of the things of trying to calm myself down didn't really work for therapy. I can't necessarily think of anything that I found out later on that I was just like, man, I wish I would have known that sooner.
mm-hmm,
Um, I never had those moments of like, I wish my therapist or that I wish I kind of got on the medicine sooner than I did.
mm-hmm,
That was something that my psychiatrist had prescribed to me. I thought, now if I was diagnosed and given this sooner, I would have been much more happier. So I was
mm,
bummed out that it took that long to find that medicine. And even for therapy too, I waited because I thought therapy was for crazy people. That's kind of how
Right.
I always perceived it as. That's how TV perceived it as. That's how movies perceived it as. Was if you went there, you were crazy. You had some kind of m mental illness that was so severe, people don't wanna be around you for it, and I always stayed away from it. Well, come to find out, I was very much misled and was very much lied to as a child, and learned that that's not how therapy offices are at all. So I think finding therapy probably sooner rather than earlier than the time I did would have been helpful as well.
Yeah.
But I was too kind of stern and kind of blunt about, "No, I don't wanna." I was kind of vain about, "No, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to that, and you can't change my mind."
Yeah.
That's kind of the mindset I had, so it took a while for me to open up. I mean, there were even in 2021, I still didn't wanna go, but after a while, I was like, "Okay, I need to go." I said, "Okay, I cave in, I give up, I'll go."
Hmm. Yeah, I think media's portrayal of therapy, even still now, it can really turn some people off to it. There's different shows and stuff about therapists and about other things, and it's like it could definitely turn somebody away with it and have them being like, that's not, I'm not even gonna try it. But it's really something that's helpful for sure for a lot of people. I think everybody needs a little bit of therapy in their life.
Yeah. My thing is I wish it was free. I just wish that was
Yes.
one thing
Oh
we got for
yeah.
free because I think that would be I think our world would be such a better place if therapy was more, um, accessible to more, outside, like, just for anyone, even low income people that can
Mhm.
are worth $1 billion. I think it needs to be for anyone for
Yeah.
free. I think that's just something that needs to be given to us for free.
100%. What should friends or family members say or not say to someone who's struggling with depression or anxiety?
Ooh, see, this is kinda difficult because everyone is different when it comes to this.
Mhm.
It's like, um, I don't really have a answer for that because everyone's so different. I'll say this, nothing that anyone said to me was, like, triggering to hear.
Mhm.
So if someone said, "It'll get better, it gets better," um, nothing I guess I would say is kind of a thing would be some people don't like well, stop pretending or get over it. Those tend to be
Mhm.
2 catchphrases and things that a lot of people with mental health disorders hate hearing, and I think they say that because they don't fully understand. So, kinda just explain to them why you can't just get over it and
Yeah.
why you're not faking it, but for me personally, I don't really have anything that was like, "Don't say to me," but I think don't, um stop pretending or get over it, I think tend to be the more setting quotes people hear a lot that they don't like to hear.
Yeah. And your point about it's different for everybody is a really good one. And one of the things that I have tried to instill in my kids and also that I try to do myself is to ask like, okay, what would help you right now? What is something that I can say or do? Or just do those little check-ins with your friends and say, is there anything I've done lately that you don't like that isn't helpful that I should do differently next time? Just check in a little bit, I think is helpful. Are there any songs or books or
Yeah,
resources that really helped you through dark times?
so one of the that's actually a good one because I have a, thing here. One of the albums that got me through it was, Ariana Grande's Sweetener album. That was one of the
Yeah.
first albums that I heard, and that album helped me a lot during my healing process too, because it was just an album that really just got me through all those really hard times and really difficult things that I was going through at that point, and being able to hear it just changed something in me. So that album was kind of on constant replay throughout the whole first year of 2020. I didn't really have a book at the time because reading kind of came after everything had actually transpired at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a book at the time, but yeah, music for me was just a lifesaver. And that album, Sweetener, was just a healing album for me. A lot of people have different opinions on it. I consider it to be my favorite album of all time just because of how personally it is attached to me at that point during the time I listened to it. And so I think honestly that album saved my life a little bit as part of why I'm here today is because of listening to it. And there's a song on there, Breathe In, that's kind of focuses fully on anxiety. And I think it's one of the best interpretations of how anxiety is really perceived as and how it actually does work. And it just really it is a really good representation of what mental health looks like for some people and most people.
I love that. I made myself a note over here to go and listen to that one because I'm not familiar with that song, so I'll have to go give it a listen for sure after we're done here. What's one thing you wish someone had told you when you were 13 and just starting this journey?
Oh, that people can be fake sometimes. That would have been
Mm,
one thing I would have learned. Some people are just cruel to you that um that's so hard. There's so many lessons that um, I wish someone could have told me to watch out for a lot of things people say.
mm,
Because a lot of things that people have told me have been a lot of lies that I've been given to my whole life. So if someone would have from the future would have come to me and said, "Look, you're about to go through a really troubling time, and a lot of people are going to lie to you about stuff.
mm,
Be vigilant about what you're going through, and I think have more. I think confidence too is something I wish I was kind of warned about. It's okay to be blunt and to be honest at points and not let have people run over you 24/7 like they did me at that time. So having those mottos in mind probably would have changed and shaped how things kind of played out differently. But
mm-hmm.
um, that's kind of are some things that I wish I was kind of told of early on.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great things to kind of remind yourself of too now because people can just they'll tell you things that are going to serve them instead of going to serve you, and when you're young that's really hard to understand. That's really hard to kind of get through your head of, oh, they're not being honest because being honest isn't what's good for them, you know. So yeah, that's a rough
Mhm.
one. What does mental health maintenance look like for you now?
Um, well, I am more vocally open, and I immediately can I can kind of detect it early, and I have a lot of resources now that I can use. Podcasting has really been able to get my mind off a lot of things. I think a problem with my depression was I just overthought so much. I
Mm,
thought all the time. And the only thing that I can think about during the podcast is pay attention to what people are saying. Also having to focus on questions, on sending messages out to people. Um, I have to keep my mind busy to
mm-hmm,
not, but not overworked. I have to keep it at a very steady pace so that I don't really have moments of just really sitting there and thinking about how life is and everything. Because honestly, I think thinking overly about stuff has really helped me not be depressed as much. I've not really
yeah.
had time to really sit in self pity, and I don't really sit in a dark room depressed all the time. I kind of move around a little bit, and it's something new. The good thing about the podcast is I get something new every day. That's kind of what I love to do about it. And so it's not, well, which I do have people that have come on that have had multiple similar backgrounds in what they do, but they all have something different to say and share. And that's what kind of keeps my mind focused and kind of on point half the time. And really now, just music still helps, reading helps now. I do writing now. I do a lot of writing to help cope with a lot of what I was going through. Last year in 2024, I used to write all the time. poems all the time about what I was going through, and they could be like very depressing and like very
Yeah.
alarming poems that I would write, but it would help me kind of get over that my feelings of what I was going through. So, it really helped a lot about what I was personally dealing with at the time, and it helped me get those emotions out, kind of out of my mind and kind of wrote down.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up poetry also because Bite Mark sent this question ahead of time. She would like to know what is your favorite poem? And if you have a favorite poem that you've written, it could be one of those. But if you have a favorite poem that's like someone else wrote that, it's fine too.
Oh, a favorite poem I've wrote out of the hundred I think I've wrote. Oh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I feel like I have to look. There's one that I called My Life that was kind of like a um depiction of my life and kind of in rhyming words. That
Hmm.
was kind of one of my favorites that I've done because it's most personal one.
Yeah.
Um any of the ones that have very vivid words that I use and very good explanation, like any deep adjectives, I use a lot of good adjectives. Those tend to be my favorite ones because of just how I'm good with words sometimes. Um, but I think that one's my favorite. It's the one that's called My Life. I think that's kind of one of my favorites I've wrote.
I love that. Well, we are coming up on the last couple of questions. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask Noah, feel free to get those into the chat and we'll make sure to get them answered while we are here today. So, Noah, what is your favorite life hack?
Ooh, life hack. I honestly don't know. I feel like I don't do anything that kind of is like that's kind of smart. Ooh, I don't know, honestly. I feel like I do so I don't hmm,
It could be
I
any
honestly
like
have no clue.
a favorite app or a shortcut or the best way to make grilled cheese. Like it could be anything. It doesn't have to be mental health related. It could be I tie fabric to my luggage to make it easy to ID at the airport, whatever.
I honestly have no clue of, like, what that would be. I'm trying to sit here and honestly think, and I can't think of a single thing
That's
that I
okay.
would do for a life hack. I I love the, I don't know, I can't give an answer on that. That's too hard
That's
for me for
that's all
some reason
right.
to think of.
That's no problem. We can skip straight to our magic moment. So it is time for the magic moment. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
I would say it's the same for everyone. Everyone
Mm,
has that different thing, and it you have to go by a certain thing, and that kinda drives me nuts because everyone has different opinions when it comes to mental health, and it's kind of indifferent. It's different for everyone. So I would say don't get too hung up of, like, the signs of anything you hear, just kinda go by your word. And I kinda want people to know that the biggest misconception about mental health is what you see on TV about therapy offices are is not true. That would probably be my biggest misconception would be they're totally misrepresented. It's
yeah.
totally false how they are shown and seen. No, go in there, it's like a think of it as like a normal doctor's office. That's
Hmm.
literally what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they're literally doctors for your brain, which is an organ in your body, by the way, that can malfunction just like your lungs can, just like your heart can, just like your kidneys can. Like it's a brain, it's an organ in your body, and if there's something wrong with it, you need to go to the right doctor for it, and that specialist is a therapist. I love
Mhm.
that. We've got a great question. In Kramer on YouTube says, "How do you not focus on your own
I would say probably for me, it was like I know a lot of people have worse flaws than I do, and I think seeing those flaws is something that I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't really focus on because people have it way worse than I do, or like
Mm-hmm.
have way worse flaws than the flaws that they're pointing out than I do. So I don't really look at it, and if someone has like a bad flaw about them, I try not to judge them just based off that flaw too, because everyone has maybe a flaw that they do that, doesn't really depict who they are as a person. So I don't really judge if someone has like a bad flaw about them. I just kind of have an open opinion about it and have make my own decision about it. And I don't really care and listen to what other people's opinions are about those. So that's kind of how I kind of manage flaws a little bit.
Yeah. And also, if you're thinking about, oh, my biggest flaw is XYZ, think about your best friend. Think about, can you even think of what their biggest flaw is? Maybe you can, but you really have to think about it because you think of them as a person, and you think of them as a friend, and you don't think of them as a person with this flaw. Like you don't immediately think of their flaw whenever you think of them as a person. So maybe trying to reframe it a little bit into perspective of how would my friend, how would my mom, how would, whatever, my partner, whoever, my teacher, how would they view me if they think of me right now? Do they think of this one thing that I focus on so hard? Probably not. And so just trying to reframe it a little bit of you are as a person are not just made of flaws. It's okay. And also everyone does have flaws. So a little bit of perspective all around. All over the place.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to post your socials one more time. So, folks who are still here, if you have any more questions, you can still, of course, ask them while we're wrapping up here. But I'm going to post Noah's links one more time. We've got some ways that you can connect with him all across the internet. And, Noah, while I'm doing that, I'll just give you the floor and open it up to anything you want to cover, anything we didn't get to talk about, any resources or sites or recommendations or anything you've got going on. I'll just let you talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah, so I've got some pretty interesting things coming up. I do as kind of mentioned in the introduction, I do have two other podcasts that I do have. It's a book podcast and a music podcast. The book one, Southern Reads, is basically a thing where I'm um blab about books all the time, and in music it's kind of the same thing, but it's just has that music niche to it. So feel free to check those out too. The music ones, Music Talks as well. And I do have kind of like a fourth podcast I'm thinking of, but I think I'm putting it off for a while. I have like the idea and name of how I want to do it, but of course I'm kind of putting it off till later on so I get a more balanced schedule with how I want to do all three podcasts now. Because I originally had all three of these at one time, and then Lethal Venom kind of took off where it was, and so I put the other two kind of on hold and was like, I'm not doing any of those right now. Lethal Venom's doing too well, so I put those kind of on pause. I'm trying to get those and filtrate those back into this year, try to bring those back. And I just want people to know that a lot of your friends from high school are not going to be your true friends.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned that out the hard way. The best friends that I have are all friends that I've met during college. And I get this question asked a lot of like, do you have like a lot of people that reach out to you now that you do have such a successful podcast and that you kind of have your life out there? And I still say no, they never really have reached out and said like, "Oh, I heard your podcast and I see all these accomplishments your podcast is doing and um everything." And they never really still reach out to me and acknowledge me on anything. And there will be some kids that I graduate school with that won't ever think of me again. They'll see me on TV and be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Who is that?" And then we'll go through the whole brain um of who is that. But I've kind of have humbled myself to think that I think out of everyone I've become the most successful one of everyone, anyone in the class, which has been kind of don't like to brag about it, but it feels good to know that I tended to be the one that was the most successful one to kind of come out of the class. Everyone else has been too busy doing stuff in the bedroom, but they've been kind of busy in there while I've been kind of focusing on life a little bit. But um, I don't really think about them a bunch anymore. I just personally think that they were just not meant to be in my life, and I think if they tried coming in here, try to come back, I'll try to just kind of do the whole kill them with kindness and be like fake smiles and everything and kind of pretend to be nice to them, but just know that how they treated me and everything. So I just want people to know that you'll find the right support group, that the right people will come at the right time. And when they do, keep them close and keep those people and don't lose them. I have such a good support system now. All the friends I have are real supportive of what I do, are interested in hearing it, even though some fall asleep early while I'm talking to them. And they kind of make fun of me here and there for some stuff, but I don't know what I would do without any of them here, and of course having a really good family support has
Yeah,
really been good to hear. So that's what I would say is that the support that you have now, if it's really bad, it gets better. You'll find the right people. Just it takes some time and some life lessons and living life a little bit to find them, but they come at the right time.
yeah. I love that. That's fantastic. Rose Lemon says, quick question. How are y'all today? I'm doing great, Rose. Thank you so much for asking. Appreciate you showing up today. But yeah, Noah, just how are you? We're wrapping up here. So how are you today?
Today I'm doing really good. Mentally, I'm very in a good headspace now. I think I've been, knock on wood, depression free for I think 6, 7 months. It's kind of the longest I've been depression free for the longest for a while. So, I've been doing really good mentally. So I'm doing really good today. I appreciate, Rose. Thank you so much for asking. That was really, um, I'm doing really good.
I love that. Well, Noah, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story with us. I think this was a really fun conversation. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to come on here and share my story, and it was just a really fun time. I had a pleasure being on. So thank you so much for having me today.
And 488 says thanks for sharing as well. So there you go. All right, y'all. I will be right back. If you are here on Twitch or YouTube, I will be right back. So stick around. But I am going to disconnect with Noah offline and I'll be back in just a minute.